Welcome everyone. Today we're doing Meltopia review. So let's start with this question. What if your main weapon in a game wasn't for fighting enemies but for melting snow? That's the core idea behind Meltopia. A minimalist indie exploration and survival game from Garden of Dreams where you roam a frozen world using a heat gun to uncover buried secrets, ancient artifacts, and the remains of a massive frozen mammoth. At a first glance, it looks like another cozy indie game with a relaxing atmosphere and simple mechanics. But once you actually start playing, you realize there's a little more going on beneath the surface. So, is this frozen indie adventure actually worth your time, or does the gameplay melt away too quickly? Let's break it into categories. Gameplay. The gameplay loop in Meltopia revolves around exploration, resource gathering, and slowly uncovering secrets hidden beneath the snow. Your main tool is a heat gun that melts snow, revealing hidden caves, artifacts, resources, and giant mammoth remains buried underneath the frozen world. As you progress in the caves, you will find the Tesla gun that melts tough glacier ice as well. Honestly, the melting mechanic is surprisingly satisfying. There's something really relaxing about carving through thick snow and suddenly discovering something hidden underneath. The game constantly rewards curiosity, and exploration feels natural. There is also a light survival element. As you explore farther away from your base, your character slowly starts freezing in the cold. But it's not a super stressful survival mechanic where you're constantly panicking or barely staying alive. It just means you'll occasionally need to run back to a heated room or a heat source before heading out again. Just as you'll have to get back to a room where you can refuel and unload artifacts or sell the items you have uncovered, or even upgrade your gun. I think that's the right balance for this kind of game. The freezing mechanic gives exploration a little bit of structure and pacing without ruining the cozy atmosphere. It adds just enough tension to make long expeditions feel rewarding, but never enough to become frustrating. That said, the gameplay loop doesn't evolve dramatically over time. After a few hours, you'll still be melting snow, collecting resources, and searching for hidden artifacts and bones. Depending on the type of player you are, that can either feel relaxing or repetitive. For me, it feels relaxing. So whether the gameplay fully clicks for you really depends on how much you enjoy slower atmosphere-driven exploration games. Atmosphere and visuals. This is easily one of the game's strongest areas. The frozen world feels isolated, mysterious, and strangely peaceful at the same time. The art style works well because it keeps your attention focused on the environment and whatever secrets might be hidden beneath the snow. There's also something visually satisfying about watching frozen landscapes slowly transform as you melt paths through them. The sound design helps a lot too. The quiet ambient soundtrack mixed with the effects creates a relaxing atmosphere that fits the game perfectly. Even when not much is happening, the world still feels immersive. Progression and content. One of the smartest parts of Meltopia is the Mammoth reconstruction system. Instead of just exploring aimlessly, you're gradually uncovering and rebuilding the remains of this giant ancient creature piece by piece. That gives the game a surprisingly strong sense of progression because every discovery feels meaningful. You're not just collecting random loot. You're uncovering pieces of history. The game also does a good job creating that feeling where you constantly want to push slightly farther into the frozen landscape to see what's hidden there. Or maybe a better way to say it would be that the game has the potential to suck you in and become addictive. That being said, the progression systems themselves are fairly simple. There aren't a huge number of upgrades or major gameplay changes as you advance, and one might eventually wish there were more mechanics introduced later in the game to keep things fresh. Still, for an indie game with such a focused concept, there's a solid foundation here. Now, how do I sum this up? Meltopia knows exactly what kind of game it wants to be. It's a relaxing exploration game with a light survival mechanics, satisfying progression, and surprisingly immersive atmosphere. The snow melting gameplay is fun, the Mammoth reconstruction gives you a reason to keep exploring, and the survival elements add just enough structure without becoming stressful. The gameplay can become repetitive over time, but if you enjoy slower atmospheric indie games, Meltopia is definitely worth checking out. My final score would be 7.5 out of 10. So, have you played Meltopia yet? Are you planning to? Do you enjoy these slower atmospheric exploration games, or do you prefer something more action-focused? Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you enjoyed this review, like and subscribe for more indie games coverage. I'll see you soon!